everybody. Welcome to the 6th episode of Digital Village. I'm excited. I'm always excited. But today I'm going to be talking with my friend Sonja Courtis. I got to say it right. She's in New Zealand and she's going to talk to us today. She's an EFT specialist as well as in respects of helping people overcome anxiety. Why I'm excited to talk to her today is because it's about something that's dear to my heart. After my son was born, I had birth trauma and I also had a traumatic birth. My birth lasted 38 hours. And Sonja and I are going to go and talk about that and the effects of the after effects of that birth. And hey, Kirsten, the after effects of me after going into labor and how it had an effect on my life, not just myself, but my son. And it'd be really interesting because I don't really understand this to the extent that I should. And I know Sonja has a vast understanding about this and really important about how we as mums, not just mums, parents, about our energetic level and how our energy is what our children bounce off as well. And it's really important that we are in a space, especially if you're going down the conscious parenting route, that we are the adult first and we don't respond from a traumatic past incident, which is connected to our inner child, that we are present and aware and right here in this very moment. And I know it's hard to, how do we navigate this, is that, hey Kelly, is that when we are parents, we're constantly trying to do everything right and we're looking at different readings and resources and there's so much information out there. And it's really important that we find what suits us. And I've got a big smile on my face, Kelly, right now from what you've written. Thank you. It's about we find the information that suits us as a parent. And that's why I've created this platform where we can have these discussions and I can bring information to you that you can pick and choose and see how you can apply it to your life. So we're still waiting for Sonja and she's on her way, but I'm wondering if anybody wants to put in where they're from, because I know Sonja's in New Zealand, so the audience will be from there as well. Well, maybe I'll just go into my history. So before Sonja jumps in and she can have it. So I decided to talk about, I had a 38-hour labor. 38 hours. My water broke at 1 a.m. and I didn't deliver that baby 38 hours until 3:20 the next day. Now, I know that many midwives said that your first child takes longer to come because your body, hey, you're in Moama, I love it. Kelly, is that your first child, it's a harder process. They say that your body doesn't know what it's doing. Hey, Wendy, and your body doesn't know what it's doing, so it doesn't know how for you to go through the process organically. But what happened with me is I fought it. I couldn't relax and get into the state that I needed to be. And it went for 38 hours. And the only reason why they didn't go into emergency cesarean is because my son's heart rate was at a certain level. It didn't move. It kept staying safe. Whereas my heart rate was going erratic, absolutely erratic through the process. And I couldn't surrender. I just couldn't surrender. And then what happened is I still remember my husband, because they had to do, I'm going to be honest, they had to cut into me to get my son out because they gave me an epidural. So after 28 hours of doing this pushing, hey Alex, after 28 hours of pushing, I said, I want an epidural. I can't cope with this pain anymore. Because when I was doing my own contractions, I could handle it. But when they put the oxytocin in me, it amped it up to a different level and it was excruciating. And I know there's 2 women on here that have kids, so that they know what contractions feel like. And Alex, I know you've witnessed it with your partner, Rachel, and going through the birthing process. It was intense. So I said, I want an epidural. And I demanded it. And my poor husband, I remember he was just there. So it's okay. I learned to relax and I really wanted a natural childbirth. But what happened is I dilated 10 centimeters, bang, where I needed to be, but I couldn't do it organically. Hey, Sonja, she's going to come right now. So I couldn't do it naturally. I just couldn't. I wanted it. I wanted it so bad, but I couldn't relax. I've always lived in this state of control. I want to control everything.
Yeah, so okay, just quickly so people know who I am. I'm a life strategist and mindset transformation specialist, and I work with people who have experienced past significant emotional events and trauma. And one of my specialist areas is helping women and fathers overcome birth trauma. Because unfortunately, as much as we've got amazing interventions, birth trauma is a real thing. Now, basically, what you've already just said is two things are happening in our experience of birth. There is what is happening for many modern women. Let me sort of take it back a bit. What is happening for many modern women is, one, we're having our babies later. Now, physiologically, we're told that that's going to be an issue. So we're getting installed with fear into the concept of giving birth, because when you think about it, we're older, we're used to living our lives, many of us are career driven, so we're used to having control of our lives, choosing lives on our terms, and so we kind of make the assumption that when a baby comes along, we will be able to sort of transport that control and having everything our own way into being a mum. Now, age has got nothing to do with it. It's all to do with our belief systems and our personal perceptions of ourselves and our lives. Now, women who like to be in control often have perfectionist traits, and perfectionist traits come from a desire to be loved. And the only way we can see that we can be loved is if we feel good enough, because we don't feel good enough deep down. We feel like we're not enough. We feel like we have to be perfect to be loved, that we must be in control. These are all the kind of limiting beliefs that people have. And so if you bring a baby, if you have this going on and you're working full time right up until the time you give birth, you're not doing anything to convalesce and create a beautiful, nurturing, calm space for your baby to be born. And then you go into a birthing suite and there's a lot of intervention straight away from being induced, straight off the bat. Straight away, all your control is taken away. All of it. And so then what's happening is you've got the actual event itself that causes trauma and emotional triggers, the actual birth experience, but then you've got a lifetime of beliefs around, I must be perfect to be loved, I must be in control, bad things happen, I'm not good enough. And then if you have a traumatic birth experience, it's like you've just gone and whacked a major life event that's then going to cause behavior that's really very stressful, very postnatal anxiety, postnatal depression. A lot of it is actually triggered not just by your birth experience, but the limiting beliefs that you've been carrying your entire life. And often we don't know about these beliefs because not many of us sit down and go, "Oh, I didn't." No, none of us really sit there with a mirror and go, "What do I really think about myself?" We don't sit there and go, "I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm lovable. I don't think I'm." And we don't realize, and the work I do with people is actually make them realize that you've got these limiting beliefs and then you've had this birth experience, which has quite literally triggered a strong emotional response in you. Yeah.
Me, I'm really lucky that because of my acting field or different places of working myself, I've come to find those beliefs. But I didn't really feel, well, now that you're saying it to me, I had no idea that was causing that there, and it makes everything. I'm not enough. Like even this morning, I had an instance with my son. He woke at 5 a.m. and I'm working on my business, and I got immediately agitated and annoyed at him because he's pulled out of me the way that I feel a sense of emotional security. Is the more I do, I feel more secure in what I do. But my child doesn't allow me to do that because he's in the moment. He wants to live and be in the moment, but I'm constantly being bashed into the face about you need to work on this belief. You've got to realize that he's more important than that need to fill. Because whenever I do more and more, I'm still never satisfied, Sonja.
Never. Yeah.
It's never.
And it's all interlinked too, because and this is probably more of what I've learned in the last sort of maybe 6 months, is that when we are women who are high achievers and the doing and the control mechanisms, we're very much in our masculine energy, right? Now, masculine energy is head driven, it's ego driven, it's results driven, it's it's all about driving forward, focusing forward. And yet to be a female and to give birth, we need to be very much in our feminine energy, which is flow, letting go, being strong in the womb area and what's called the sacral chakra of the body, really being joyful, playful, embodying what it is to be feminine, but we're not anymore, which is also what's going to cause potential birth complications, because we're all up in here residing in fear, worry that something could go wrong, judgment of ourselves if it does go wrong, and we're not being, I always say, look at our parents' generation. I know my mother in particular, they got pregnant, they were calm, they weren't working full time, they sort of, you went 2 weeks overdue, oh well, you just waited for the baby to come, and the baby came, and was never, it was just so different. And you hear the birth stories, it was like, oh yeah, 5 to 6 hour labor, and no induction. What was induction? It's just fascinating how much birthing has changed, even in the last 30 to 40 years, significantly. And again, it's this masculine, feminine energy stuff as well. I know that's probably a new concept to people watching this, but when you're strongly grounded in your feminine energy, you're all about nurturing your womb space. You're all about dealing with low self-worth. You're about clearing out any sort of feelings of not good enough, because, the womb is where we create from. We create life. We create creativity, play, fun, joyfulness. They're all the energies and feelings we should be, and not should be, I don't like to use the word should, but that's what we need to be embodying as women when we are carrying a child or when we're trying to create a child. Yeah, but even making a baby now is, there's no fun in it, there's no playfulness, there's no sensuality, there's no pleasure, to the point that it's no surprise we've got so much IVF now. Again, people say it's because of the age. It's not because of the age, it's because of the way women live their lives now. We're not in our feminine energy. We're in our masculine all the time, head.
That conversation with my husband yesterday, realizing that I'm in the masculine, like you're saying, in my head. And I was like, my son doesn't want fucking two dads. He wants a mum, like the feminine and masculine energy. Like, I'm a big believer your child chooses who they want as their parents, and they choose you for lessons. But with myself, I was like, how do I get back into that feminine energy? Like, I was like, because my son needs that. He doesn't need another dad. He needs a mum.
Yeah. How do you get into feminine energy? Well, really easily. You play with your child, and you you do silly fun things with them, and you do creative stuff, you do puzzles, and you listen to music, and you dance, and you move your body in a fluid way. I'm a business owner, so I'm very strong on my masculine energy, and I can do masculine very well when I'm doing my business, but every now and then I just have to take a short break, put on some music, and just laugh and just dance and move. Feminine energies flow. It's moving your body, it's being soft, it's being giggly, it's being silly, it's it's having a piece of chocolate and just enjoying the moment, being very present. Feminine energy is all about leaning back. Masculine energy is all about moving forward. And we need both. Men, and see, the thing is, modern men in Australia and New Zealand and America, they're very in their masculine energy too. They're not in their feminine at all. And we need both. We need both.
Too.
Yeah. And so you think about how we're parenting now. It's very masculine energy driven. It's very rigid. And we have to, because mums are working full time. It's not like society is just, we've created this situation for ourselves. We're forced to do. We're forced. But the flip side of that is too many people are trying to control every aspect of their life and not learning to let things go. Women causing themselves so much stress because their children are leaving stuff around the house. That's kids. When you're in your fun, playful energy and you're loving them and you're watching your children and you're really present with them, you don't care that there's mess. Mess is creativity. Mess is, you make a game out of it with your children. You make the cleaning up a game. You don't go running around picking it all up, getting angry because they're not you just create, you get creative. Now, the worst irony is I'm not a parent, but I coach parents in this stuff, and I get them to go away and try all this stuff. And it's incredible what happens when I get these women into their feminine energy more and say, hey, how about you try not doing that thing? How about you just try letting it go and see what happens to the dynamic? I was with a client just today and we had to work on that stress around her child not sleeping, because that trying to control the sleeping was causing more tension, which was leading her child not to sleep. So that real presentness.
It's could you say that, because I had that epiphany today. Zion got up at 5 a.m. I'm like, why aren't you sleeping? And I got into that masculine energy. I thought maybe he's picking up on me. I thought he's picking up on me. So I'm running around with this, trying to get stuff done. Well, we co-sleep, and I'm trying to do stuff while he's in the bed. But he can pick up me trying to force the way to be a certain way. And from my understanding, go.
No, and what they will do is they will juxtapose. So they will do something to either reinforce your behavior, such as get up early and be annoyed, it's like, or they will be responding to how you feel is creates your vibe, because everyone knows everyone has a vibe, good vibe, bad vibe. Now, here's the thing that freaks me out. And when I learned this, I went, oh, from the ages 0 to 9, that umbilical cord, that metaphorical, that energetic umbilical cord still exists between mother and child. So from 0 to 9, they are picking up on everything that we are going through, everything we're feeling.
Always at me when things, like I don't get it. When things aren't right, like my head's overanalyzing and the anxiety or whatever kicks in, he's on my leg, like wanting my attention, or wanting to be, because I'm still breastfeeding, to be on my breast. And I suspect he does that because he naturally wants me to cook, because that's when I calm down. It's like a meditation when I breastfeed. So he's giving me that to slow down and get out of here and get back in here.
And you know what else is quite amazing too, though? Some children, depending on their experience in the womb, create, because also where we're making meaning of life from the age of 0 to 7, that's when our core beliefs are created. So that means for us, our limiting and positive beliefs were created 0 to 7. But our limiting beliefs, a lot of young children, if they sense mum is stressed or worried or tense, especially that birthing time when they are going into labour, or, there's been a stressful birth experience, quite often, now the child doesn't know it's not separate from mum. So when a child's in the womb, it will make meaning from the felt sense energy that it's picking up around in the environment. So good thing is all of this can be reversed, Amberlee, so don't worry about that. But the thing is, they make meaning, right? So they're in the womb and mum's stressed or mum's busy working. And, a lot of reason that babies don't come on their due date, or they come over and they don't come at all and need to be induced, is because they're picking up mum's stress, right? And the environment's really stressful. So they're like, well, why would I be born right now? It doesn't feel safe to leave this space. They also don't know that they're not separate from mum. So then what they do is relates to Zion trying to help you, right? When you're feeling overwhelmed. They don't know that they're separate from mum. So some babies, and I've worked on adults' beliefs that they created in the womb, that when mum was stressed, they thought it meant that they were now responsible for mother. So children are born into this world thinking that they are responsible for their parents' happiness, and they don't know.
It hits me at the core, because my mum told me that I came into this world from my dad forcing himself upon her. And she didn't want to be pregnant. And so that one belief, I've always wanted to fix and help my mum. That's like my whole thing. Even today, she spoke on the phone. I really suffered in the control, like everything you're saying right now. I was going back to my bulimic ways when I was pregnant. And what I mean by that, I was starving and not eating and then binging. I'd go, and now I see, like, that's why my son, like, and it's okay, because I couldn't control the world outside and what was going on in my body. So I went from this active person and I was feeling sick. And so what did I do? I went to a mechanism I know. And now the weight of all that's landing on me, like, it makes sense about him wanting to feel safe, because I know it from my history,
Just take some deep breaths in. You can always just sit there and tap on yourself when you feel this stuff come up, That's why I talk to people and I just say, just do some tapping. It'll help to shift the energy, because clearly you've just identified that there's something that you just probably need to look at working through at some stage. But, no one, look, mums hear this stuff and I can see them go into what we call an abreaction. Just keep tapping while we're talking, right? They go into this abreaction, and in case anyone's wondering, this tapping we're doing is a form of emotional acupuncture. So it's energy work like you would do acupuncture with needles, but we use our fingertips to shift the energy instead of needles. Blocked emotions. Here's the thing, it's no one's fault. We don't know what we don't know. Yeah. But once you have the knowledge, you can start to change those ancestral stories. Because I always say when a mother heals herself, she heals her entire family. She heals the family lineage behind her. And then she also heals the family ahead of her. Yeah. And her children. And the amazing thing is that no one's done anything wrong. Yeah. We just don't know what we don't know. And so, just remind yourself of that. Your son is very resilient, and even having awareness about why he does what he does is going to help you shift that dynamic. Because like I said about my client this morning, she had so much stress around her child sleeping when it started to go off the rails at 7 months that she's never lost that stress, right? And that stress is playing out as an interplay between her and her child every single night. And then it locks that patterning in, and it becomes habitual, and it becomes to the point that it's almost like, well, what would you do if your child did sleep through the night? And they're like, I wouldn't know what to do. What are you afraid might happen if your child sleeps through the night? Well, they might not need me anymore. Well, of course they're going to need you, But we have all these underlying feelings and beliefs that are affecting how our children are feeling. But remember, our children create their own beliefs as well. And that can all be changed and, transformed. Take a deep breath in. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just having awareness too. Like, you now know you can, it's even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes with him, that power to spend that time with him is, and even how you react when he wakes up at 5. Oh, are you coming to help me do my work? What do you do? And sometimes if they relax, they go, okay, it's okay, everything's okay, everything's fine, I'm fine.
Because I know like resentment resides in me. And then I start, not that I ever wish to change my life of having a child, but then there's, I don't have a life anymore. What's this about? And it really is, I talk about this all the time, and I write about it freely on my thing because it happens a lot, is that I chose to have my son. I absolutely made a choice, and there's a choice in that. And I know the benefits of right now that happening is that I'm healing a part. He's bringing to my attention parts of me that I need to heal.
Yeah.
And I want to be in the feminine. I want to be in it. I'm sick of being in the masculine. I'm sick of it. Because it hasn't brought me happiness.
Yeah.
It hasn't.
It's like I said too, it's the balance though. It's like we don't push our feminine, our masculine aside. We need it to get stuff done. But it's like, actually, we've so far removed ourselves from our feminine that we don't know how to connect with her, and she's there available to us at any moment. We just have forgotten. And it's interesting. I'm going to quickly show you a book that I happen to be sharing with a lot of my clients, and excuse the title, but the title's amazing. It's called Pussy by Regina Thomas Hauser, right? And it's all about how to get into your feminine energy and how through patriarchy, we've lost that connection, right? Now, anyone who's just jumped on now, they'll be going, what the hell? But this book is transforming millions of lives because she talks about reclaiming our feminine, reclaiming who we are. It's amazing what happens when we as women start to reconnect with our bodies, because a feminine woman is very in her body. She's very in her touch, her feel, her sensuality. And when we reconnect with that, one, it's way easier to conceive. Making a baby becomes very easy when we're in our pleasure. Pleasure is having that cup of tea out of a beautiful china teacup and reading, lighting candles and doing baths. And it's just really simple stuff. It's simple stuff. It only needs 10 minutes. But when we reclaim all of that, we create a healthier womb space. A lot of our issues around ovarian issues, endometriosis, toxic womb, cervical trauma through abuse, that's all because of our disconnection from our feminine and not allowing ourselves to honor and love that part of us that is allowed to be seen, because the feminine likes to be seen. She loves to be seen. She's like, look at me. but we've squashed it down, we've pushed it aside. And in relation to birthing experiences, that's why we don't trust ourselves as women when we have a child. We're not trusting our intuition. We're not trusting our intuition when we're time to give birth. The amount of women that go, I didn't want to be induced. Induction creates so many issues. I didn't want to be induced, but they were forced to because the medical profession said, well, you're 5 days over. I was born 2 weeks over. Since when was 40 weeks the decision? It's 42 weeks because you conceive 2 weeks into your cycle, not at the start of your cycle. It's 2 weeks in on average. So if you then add not 40 weeks, it actually takes you to 42. Well, we've been told it's 40.
Brain development to be in the womb as long as it can be. Anyway, because I was like, I want him out, but then I did the research about how important it is for my son, and now he's hitting all the milestones he's meant to hit because he's in correlation to his brain being developed in the womb. Yeah. Whereas if children are born earlier, their brain doesn't develop as quick as the people that are born on the same date because they have to do the development outside the womb. And as I'm hearing from you, the womb is the safest place for them. Yeah. It's absolutely.
Yeah, and the study of embryology, knows that the first layer of the brain is the brainstem, which is all about survival. So if a child's been born at 28 weeks, their cortex is often not even fully developed. And cortex is all about social reasoning, social boundaries, being able to form good connection and relationships. So, if you look at children with premature births, quite often they might struggle to integrate into social situations in that because their cortex just didn't develop. And, because and the other part is the clamping of the cord. That's the life, that my friend here in Christchurch is now doing placenta encapsulation, where you take your placenta and put it into capsules and you ingest it. And it's got all these amazing nutrients and blood enhancing goodness that help cognitive function. And, there's also the idea of a lotus womb where you don't clamp at all. And then you just let the womb break away naturally after about 3 or 4 days, which is what traditional indigenous cultures in Africa and that do, because there's so much life force in that placenta. But hospitals here in New Zealand are now no clamping. It's a rule. Nelson Hospital, no clamping of the cord for the first 45 minutes. Yeah, because it's life force. It's been the child's life force for 9 months, and then you take it away, and it's still pulsing.
Well, you haven't been in the process, but if you look at it, afterwards, that's the first thing I asked. I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see and it was amazing to look at the placenta, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely. I know people might freak out at me saying that, but it is beautiful.
And there's a reason the cord is long enough that you can still not have birthed your placenta and hold your baby on your chest. Because you think about it, why would the placenta cord need to be long in the womb? Because the baby's in the placenta. It ain't that long from the placenta to the belly button, but it's not. It's long enough so that when you birth, you can put that baby on your chest straight away and your placenta can still be in you, not having birthed yet, and the cord's long enough to allow that.
I could talk to you forever, in this time. Oh, it's my. At what you need to share with us too, and then the healing I just got. It's so simple because I don't, and I want to say I've learned tapping before, but I'd forgotten. That just took everything out rather than I'm not dwelling about what I shared before, whereas there would be a lot of shame that could reside. And from doing the tapping, the whole energy is being processed. That's what it is. It's being processed.
Yeah. And we call it charge. So you have a significant emotional event, it creates charge in the body. When you think about that event, the charge comes up, you feel it. You can't talk your way out of that because it's in the body, it's not in the head. So then you tap and that removes the charge whilst talking about the problem. So you're getting a two-pronged approach. So if anyone who's watched this video and they're struggling with birth trauma or any sort of trauma, You know, EFT tapping is the most scientifically validated new process on the market. It's incredible. And there's matrix birth re-imprinting as well, which is the most effective way of dealing with birth trauma. You know, I can just quickly give you some examples of women I've worked with who, 7-year-old sons who have got, you know, major rage issues when they get put into unpredictable environments because, you know, they like school, they like home, but then if they go and take them to football training or something, they get something, one little thing goes wrong, they get into all this crazy rage and stuff. And the parents are like, what the hell's going on? I don't even work with the child. I work on the birth experience, because quite often you'll find if a child was induced, especially, they don't like being rushed along in life. Don't rush along a child that was brought into this world at a time that they don't like, because it's like, don't tell me what to do, because they were told what to do during birth. Or these kids with this rage and stuff, it's because their birth was traumatic, like they came out via C-section, or they got stuck in the birth canal or something, and it's all still playing out 0 to 9 years of age. And so when you work on the parent, like if you do healing on a parent's birth experience, you actually then can trigger release of that trauma for the child as well. And the amount of children that have not even seen me have had shifts in their behavior by working on a parent.
Saying too, because you talked about, I would suspect that comes from the connection of the metaphorical umbilical cord that's still connected. But can somebody work with you even if their child's over the age of 9? It's still
100%. Well, you've got to remember, I work on adults who've had traumatic births. So, and people say, well, how do you remember your birth? Because your body never forgets anything. Anything you've ever felt that's had an emotional trigger for you, you feel it in your heart first before you actually remember it psychologically. So if you can feel it, you can remember it. So, you know, if your child's 9 years old and there was a traumatic birth, you know, 95% of births are deemed traumatic these days because of intervention. 95%. That's very, very high.
Population. You think about it, no wonder there's so many hangry people walking around. If you're saying kids are reacting like that, if 95% of the population are coming into the world like this.
Yeah. And it's varying levels of intensity of trauma, but anything that's not calm and conscious, unfortunately, has the potential to trigger, you know, work in a child. Actually, I'll show you a book quickly.
If you'll hear me, but I'll tell you something. Sonja, jump into it. Like, you get explanations. Someone tell you about trauma is forcing your body to do something it doesn't want to do. So you're just explaining that just then. Is that we're forcing children to have traumatic events based on we're making their bodies do things that they don't want to do.
And trauma is anything unexpected. It feels dramatic to us. So, you know, it can be big or small trauma. So it's unexpected. It's called a UDIN, UDIN. Unexpected, it's dramatic. So at the time of the event, it feels quite emotional for us. It's isolating. So at the time of the event, we feel like we're on our own and no one gets what we're going through. It's like, this is all about me right now. Even if there's a room full of people in an earthquake, your experience of that moment is very isolating to you. And then the fourth part is no tools or resources to deal with it at the time. Now, you think about a birth with lots of intervention, you don't have the tools and resources. You're completely... Now, the book is Heal Your Birth, Heal Your Life by Sharon King. And it's really amazing because it tells all about birth stories and how and why the birth, how it makes people feel and the beliefs that get created based on types of birth experiences. And I could talk about this for hours, but we won't because obviously we don't have that. But it's pretty phenomenal stuff.
Day you've got to go off and do what you need to do. If people want to get in contact with you, because I know I'm going to be following up and wanting to work with you, I think my husband will be encouraging it based on how his wife can be a psychopath, and I don't want to be that. The thing is, I can see myself behaving this way, but I don't have the tools of how to, you know, manage it. I'll see it and reflect later, or I'll be in the middle of doing it, especially when I might tap onto this. I was fucking crazy when I was pregnant. Absolutely pregnant, crazy. And it was because I would react, like I had all these chemicals in my body, hormones, and I would react a certain way I would never react because I didn't have a sane mind. And I suspect, and this is why I'm going to seek you out, and I know other people should do, is that you can help us with that and help us with the tools like you just showed me with EFT. So if we want to contact you, how do we do it?
My name. I'm on social media under my name. So Facebook, Instagram. I do a lot of video on Instagram, sharing, not just birth. I do specialize in helping with mindset transformation and lifestyle strategies. So I do help people overcome stress and anxiety disorders. Big one with anxiety and stress, actually, it's probably my main area, and past birth trauma or other significant emotional events. And you just go to Sonja Courtis, sonjacourtis.com, Sonja Courtis on Facebook. I'm the only Sonja Courtis in the world. So I'm tagged in this video. So, I'm pretty easy to find.
But you do all this through Skype too, don't you?
Yeah, all through online. It's all online work. I've got clients all over the world. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for your time, gorgeous girl.
Oh, I love you. And I feel like I never see you, but I do see you on social media.
Yeah.
I love you and miss you, and I appreciate you. And I know everybody that's been here, there's amazing response of people that are talking about their experiences with their grandchild and their own birth. So
yeah. And just that's all I will say. Please don't beat yourself up. Everything you've done so far is right, but it's never too late. And the mantra is it's never too late to have a happy childhood. So, it's possible to heal. Yeah. Don't think it's too late. Yeah.
Enjoy your day and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, gorgeous. Bye. See you. Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody.